That is not a food stain. That is a soap stain. Now my washing machine is against me. First the burritos came for me, now the Kenmore. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Blathering Mailbag. I'm Napzok. This is a show where a member of my Blathering community writes me a question and I try to answer it while pretending to know how to get through all of this. Today's question comes from our resident professor of smart things, Dr. Addie, and she writes, how do you deal with feeling like people don't want you around? Possibly separate question. Any advice on caring less about what other people think? These are big questions, Addie. These are absolutely big questions. And I'll start with what you asked. How do you deal with feeling like people don't want you around? That's the key. You're feeling it. Have they told you? Have they written you a stern letter saying, we do not want you around here? Have they sat you down and said, we need to talk about your presence in this circle here? Most likely, it is your brain, and I say this because all the time it's my brain telling me things, filling in the blanks, adding facts when there's no information based on maybe just something inside you that's feeling a little off. And most likely it's not true. We'll deal with, hey, maybe in the times when it is true. But I think we as human beings have a tendency to always not just think the worst, but tell ourselves the worst. And I know people out there deal with different levels of anxiety and different kinds of anxiety, and I do think it kind of falls into those buckets. But I, in my life, have always been guilty of being the one person in the room who feels like I don't belong. And it's not just imposter syndrome when I walk into a green room at a comedy club. That's almost kind of normal and par for the course and something else to deal with. But I'm always looking around going, oh, everyone here at this party does not want me here. And again, no one has told me that. There's one person I know that a couple years ago at a party, we started chatting. And the thing is, we've known each other for about 10 to 12 years. We've been in the same social circles, we've been at the same parties, we've been in the same events, and occasionally maybe even the same shows. But I always was convinced that entire time that they didn't like me. And I treated them through that lens. I was never really rude to them. I was never really mean to them, but I just kept my distance because I was just damn sure that that person didn't want me around them, or that person just didn't enjoy my company, or that person was a little suspicious of who I was and what I was doing here. So I carried that with me for literally over a decade. And then at a friend's house not too long ago, a couple years ago, we were just all talking. We were hanging out. We were having a good time. We were having fun. We were joking. I kind of just finally said, and let's be honest, maybe there was a couple Captain and Diets coursing through my veins. I finally just said, I gotta say, I'm having a great time having a conversation with you here. But I always thought you didn't like me. And then they said, that's weird. I always thought you didn't like me. And we had spent 10 years roaming around each other at parties, social situations, professional situations, sometimes being right across from each other at tables, sometimes standing right next to each other at events. And both of us were convinced that the other person didn't like the other person. I kept telling myself that. There was no facts. There was no evidence. There was just feelings, just little vibes. And it turns out, as actually a mutual friend said, no, you both are actually kind of similar. So that kind of made sense. Our brains were working against us in the same way. And that's a small example of how it can kind of spiral out. We tell ourselves the worst things. We try to make ourselves believe the worst things. Why? I am convinced it's because it's the easier thing to do, right? It's the easier thing to believe the worst stuff. I always do quote Vivian from Pretty Woman, the bad stuff's just easier to believe. One of the greatest movies of all time, true story. I once watched it 5 times in one day. No one believes me. The only witness was my dachshund. So I really think, Addie, you got to give yourself some grace. Maybe what you're picking up on was just that group of people collectively having a bad day. Maybe your energy was off. Maybe the situation had nothing to do with you, had nothing to do with them, but there were circumstances around it that just made it seem like you weren't wanted. Maybe. Now, I do want to acknowledge, sometimes in life, yeah, you do find yourself around a group of people or in certain situations. Maybe it's a job, maybe it's a meeting, hell, maybe it's a date. I don't go on those, so I don't really remember what those are like. You all tell me. But sometimes No joke, a squirrel just threw a rock at me. But sometimes I do think there's some truth to, hey, maybe this isn't the best situation. And I'm not talking about the big stuff. I'm talking about sometimes social circles. I actually was part of a social circle about 10 years ago that was full of wonderful people. I love all of them. A lot of them have gone on to great success. They're all wonderful, well-meaning, good-intentioned people. So am I. But it just didn't work. They didn't know what to do with me, and I didn't know what to do with them. Now, no one told me, hey, Ken, we were talking, we had a little meeting before you got here. We'd like you to, I don't know, head on down the road. No one said that. I just got the sense that, you know what? It's not really working, all right? And it was okay. There were walls up. And maybe, Addie, in some of the situations you're feeling this, there are walls up. And I think it's okay to acknowledge the walls. I think it's okay to find the walls. And I think sometimes it's okay to scale the walls and say, no, I'm going to be here. We're going to be friends. I've had that situation in my life. I was usually the one with the walls up, but I've had some people scale the walls, jump down and go, I'm here, and we're going to party for the rest of our lives because we're friends now. I've had that. But sometimes I think it's okay to come up to the wall. I don't want to do a mime thing that seems like it'd be really hacky and bad. But I think it's okay to go to those walls, look at them and say, they're there for a reason. And I don't need to be there. I don't need them in my life or my circles, and I don't need to be part of theirs. And we're all still good people. And you just head on down the road like this squirrel looking for more food. Did you throw a rock at me? Was it you? I do feel, though, Addie, in closing on that part of the question, that it's okay to just take a breath, be still, be quiet, and listen to what is actually being said. You'll probably find, more often than not, you are absolutely wanted. People absolutely want you around. People absolutely appreciate you being around. They want you there. It's just that you are the one telling yourself that you don't belong here. Now, as far as the other question of how do you care about what people think less, I don't know. We did that episode a while ago about how to deal with internet haters, and I think it does kind of fall into a similar situation. I think we always care. I think if you're a normal, functioning human being that has a squirrel table and squirrels demanding more food. I know you threw the rock at me. But as a normal human being, no, that squirrel is actually really upset with me. He is really upset I didn't put peanuts down for him right now. But as a normal human being, I think it's a good sign that you care about what other people think of you. I think that can be interpreted sometimes as some sort of weakness, as some sort of vanity, some sort of insecurity, anxiety. Yeah, it's all those things. But yeah, I don't enjoy it when people don't have nice things to say about me, or when I know for a fact, unlike what I was talking about earlier where it's all in your head, but when someone has treated you poorly or said something about you and it gets back to you, yeah, that's not a good situation. I care about that. And I don't want to take the hardline approach, well, fuck them, I don't care about them. Yeah, that might work sometimes, but I don't think I want to form that hard shell that destroys that base level of compassion and empathy and sympathy and connection with other people. I don't want to do things that make people think nice things about me. I just want to be those things, and then hopefully they'll have nice things to say about me. But in terms of caring less or not caring at all, nah, you should care. You should be aware of who you are and who you are to other people. I think what you're talking about is not just about that insecurity or the self-doubts that we might have. I do think it's about knowing who you are and knowing what you bring to the table and knowing what you offer to other people. I think one of the hardest things for us to do is to just let ourselves not be liked by some people. Like I was saying earlier, I think it's all in conjunction. I was around a group of people about 10, 15 years ago, loved them, they were all great, but I looked around, this ain't working. I didn't think bad things about them, and they didn't think bad things about me, but I had to have the ability, I had to come to that place where I could just kind of walk away from the friendships, just kind of walk away from the social situations and be okay with it. In fact, early on in my romantic life, which started late, I had a breakup that was kind of fiery. It was full of passion and tears and angry songs, and we just didn't work. It was a good idea that we weren't going to be together, but I was holding on to the relationship, holding on to the entire situation that was destructive for both of us. And then I realized what that was about was I cared too much about what she thought because I felt what she thought about me was wrong. It was a lie. It wasn't good. And again, this was kind of just a normal breakup. Nothing horrible happened. But it was that thing of like, no, I can't leave this situation until I make it right. I can't leave this situation until I know with 100% certainty that she will have nice things to say about me when I finally walk out that door. And guess what? She didn't. She went to MySpace. That's right, I said MySpace. And said a lot of mean things about me. Most of them horribly untrue. And you know what? Some friends came to my defense because they knew they were lies. Not just about her and I's situation, but just about who I was as a human being. What I learned from that situation was I did not want to let the idea that this person would have bad thoughts of me in their mind. True or not, but I did not want to leave the situation until I knew it was all nice and sweet and we all could be friends. And sometimes that's just unrealistic. I had to come to the realization that what she might have thought about me was true from her perspective and maybe didn't reflect entirely with 100% accuracy who I was. And I had to be okay with that. And I think what you're talking about, just in general, is about knowing who you are, knowing your true value, knowing what you bring to the table, so that when people have thoughts about you that don't align with who you truly are, and they're not valid criticisms because, you know, we aren't perfect. We know that there's only one perfect person in the world, and it's Amelia Clark, and we've all come to that determination, and, you know, it's just science at this point here. But, you know, maybe sometimes someone will have some valid criticism about you, but this isn't about that. I think you just have to know truly who you are, what your true value is, and what you are here for. And then, just maybe then, you don't have to worry about what other people think of you. Though, let's be honest, that's impossible. I am absolutely convinced that these squirrels hate me today, and I've got to go deal with it. Kylo, Squirrely, I'm out of peanuts. What do you want from me? Forgive me, please, forgive me. Don't tell other squirrels about this, okay? I can't have the other squirrels thinking bad thoughts about me.